All right, back on the show, Danielle.
Oh, sorry, regular guest.
Fancy seeing you here.
I know somebody might get me in.
It's not like you don't work here at Revital Health or anything, do you?
No, it's such an honour to be a guest.
So welcome back. And today's podcast was initiated by other practitioners here. Really, that Danielle is a light expert, and we don't yet have a podcast that says that what a light prescription looks like, the importance of light, because a lot of us know that light is important, but we don't know the ins and outs and exactly why it is important.
Yeah.
And how much of an impact it has on our physiology, on our biology, on our daily symptoms and general health overall. So we're going to go through why light is important to our health.
Yeah.
And then what a light prescription looks like.
Yeah.
So I'll let you start wherever you want to start there.
Yeah.
There's a big topic about why light is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'll preface by the term expert. I think it's a collective understanding, probably.
No,
we've built.
Yeah. Well, no, I think
I'll lean into it a little more.
I think you need to lean into it. Because I think your advocacy for light, your research, your passion, your drive comes from necessary requirements for your clientele. Yeah. But also, you know, just because you see such a huge benefit from getting the light environment right. And for yourself too, you've experimented so much with it that really I think anyone who has experimented with something for a longer period of time is an expert in itself.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Grab that and take it.
Okay, I'll grab it. I think it's really interesting. You know, anytime I hear anyone having a health issue, whether that's like their thyroid shifting, markers are shifting, or mental well-being, my first question is straight away is, what is their light environment? Because I think it really is that foundational in shifting someone on the health continuum. And you can only, you know, we've got amazing herbs. Again, I mean, if we get right into the intricacies, the herbs carry light frequencies as well, but we'll put that aside for another time. But all these are starting to shift our terrain and our body's responses within the system. But often it's forgotten what impact it is sitting under light all day, not exploring the outside daylight, the full spectrum light that our body has been attuned to and adapted to. And then suddenly in the last 150, 200 years, we've remarkably changed our environment. And you know, it's not a causation, but an absolute correlation can be drawn between what we do in our day-to-day lives in terms of, you know, where we work. You know, you can draw it to how we move our bodies and whatnot for work. But as we become sitting inside in office spaces, there is that correlation to what a reduced or suboptimal light exposure might have onto your health and well-being. And I think it's a parameter that's often lost.
Well, it's so, and I think for a lot of people and clients, like I just had one just then actually talking about how good she feels that she actually now realizes that light's important. So sunlight mainly. And so she's come from a point of like not being aware of any type of health, a very busy high exec, and not always being in light environments, to now being able to have 1.5 hour walk in the sun every day and 20 minutes with her, you know, shoes off and feet in the grass. 3 times a week.
It feels good
because she knows that it is good for her.
Yeah, and the body's receptors, they give the dopamine and the serotonin, these strong neurotransmitters to make us want more, because it is something that we are mechanized to
need and want.
Yeah,
because it's survival, but we've come so far away from that. And so it's not tangible anymore to know, like, so a lot of the things, you know, like take creatine, yay, it makes me feel a bit better, or I get bigger, you know, bulk of water in my muscles. But with light, it's like it's slow, steady, and then it slowly dissipates once it was removed again. So it's not like a tangible boom boom. And so it's really hard for, I think, clients and people to realize like how beneficial it actually is.
Yeah, that lifestyle medicine arm of what we do, which doesn't have those it's not a quick fix, but it's a routine and establishing a new practice that's going to optimize your body. So perhaps then you're stepping off the external supplementations because your body's able to hold you differently and react and respond in a more optimal way.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think for, you know, as a looking at what areas of light are important, obviously we've got the natural sunlight, we've got the natural components of light, and we need all spectrums. It's just like cannabis, really. I love it. It's kind of like full spectrum cannabis.
And the synergy that happens amongst that.
Absolutely.
Because studies show if you just, I mean, you can pull out certain spectrums of light, whether you're looking at a red light panel, which is, I think it's like 680 up to 1280 nanometers. And a lot of that is outside of our visible spectrum, but we're still receiving this information. That'll have a therapeutic outcome for this section. But if we get a full spectrum with that, you know, 600 to 1280 nanometers amongst all the rest, it works differently. And that's the complexity of our human body. And the beauty of the adaptation of the human body is it needs these multiple signals.
Absolutely. And I think, so, you know, for me, and I always bring it back to what I hear from clients understanding and how I like to explain it, or where I think the most confusion is around light. So, you know, we've got the Jack Cruzes of the world, and we've got, you know, those who are looking at different, very intricate biological mechanisms around light.
The physics
of it, which is huge and amazing and complex, but not always understandable by those who are into health, you know, research like that. But where I see, and we'll talk about the light prescription in a minute, but I think for sun particularly, it has such a bad stigma.
Oh,
it's like cannabis, right?
Well, it's a similar story. Absolutely.
Just in this podcast, I'm realizing how similar these two are.
How parallel they are, but there's just a time lag.
Yeah, and I'm like, of course. Yeah, you're into both.
I know.
Thanks so much.
Take the easy work.
Yeah.
I think that's like, it's a really good way to explore the shifts, and I think it's being acknowledged on a broader scale now. And I think there's been some recent studies looking at, and you know, if we're going to zoom in and look at a presentation, and it's not to focus on skin cancer, but you know, that's what we seem to associate with sun exposure.
That's right.
And the studies are showing the opposite, that the less sun exposure you have, the more likely you are to both have an incidence of skin cancer or melanoma, and to have poor outcomes as well. And they use vitamin D as a proxy. That's a whole other conversation as well. But I think the idea with, I've lost my train of thought. Remind me what we're talking about. Great. What's the articles?
We have huge flares going on, people.
You're talking about
so the sun. So I think I will hang on. Let me just say this. Then around the sun, so with the huge stigma of it, with you know the skin cancer as well, and so you've got the vitamin D like proxies, the issues with the measurements of how we actually see this, but particularly it fascinates me because of the Australian sun, because obviously we've got ozone, we've got all these other issues, right? But then you see, again, like I see so many higher rates of skin cancers in people who haven't had the exposures or have been using sunscreens, as an example. So I think that's a completely different topic for another time.
Yeah.
But what I think the key component of it is that if you have all spectrums of light in your life daily, then we get solar callus, we get components of protection, we get skin protection from light.
Melanin builds up. Yeah.
We have all the components necessary to feel all those things. It's just like cofactors of cellular function. You have all of the protection mechanisms. But if you just go, no sun, no sun, no sun, 2 days of the week, let's smash our body from 11 till 2 p.m. and get burnt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course you're going to get skin cancer because the body's not protected.
Yeah, you haven't allowed that solar callus, as you said, to build up the melanin in the skin to adapt to the environment, which is what we're talking about with the lifestyle medicine. It needs time to adapt. Yeah. And it's not just like the mental space of knowing what practices to do, but allowing the physiology to be in line with that as well. And for sure, the public health messaging has, you know, and there's validation to a point behind, you know, slip, slop, slap, and get out of the sun. There's another one, shade and whatnot. I think those are relevant to a point, but they're knowing how to use the sun, to mindfully use the sun to build health, means that you can have longer exposures in the sun. And of course, you know, if you're out for an hour and a half and you've never been out in the sun, or for 2 months, say, it's coming into summer now, you're probably going to get burnt. So it's a normal response. It's what we expect. But if you just gently put, like, you're up in the morning, you've got a bit of sun on your hands and your legs, that's a whole body feedback. And you start building that melanin across the board. And so therefore you can go out that little bit longer. But it's, you know, there's still going to come a point where if you're out 3 hours, you're probably going to want to seek some shade. That's just using it mindful. So there is that shift in the public health sphere. It's not at all trickling down to what we hear today, but in the research that is happening. So watch out for the next 10, 15 years if we see a shift towards how we can mindfully use the sun.
Absolutely.
And it's not even using the sun. How can we be mindful at humans and reconnect back with the environment and get back to those biological cues that have forged
with hidden away. I mean, literally just hidden like bears, but all year long. Like, we can't hibernate all year long. That's not healthy.
Not at all.
So I like to also see in a way that so I you know, for me particularly, I use myself in this example when I'm not feeling the greatest, or I'm more unhealthy as such, you know, as from my perspective. Like, all year round I will sunbake. All year round I will be out in the sun, and I will be laying in the sun, and I will feel so much better. I'll measure my vitamin D from that, you know, D-minder, all those things. But then if I'm not feeling the greatest, or if I've, you know, maybe had a little bit too much alcohol from a party or something like that, I will burn quicker. Like, no doubt about it. No doubt about it, will I burn quicker. So it's something that also reflects the internal environment of a person. So I just want to shift out of that now into like disease states and artificial light, because what I see it to be is that, and we talk about it a lot, you know, after our time of our sun has now decreased in our environment, we now have, what do we have? Alan comes out.
Alan. Artificial light at night. Yeah. And we don't really want to be friends with Alan.
No, Alan then, you know, tells your skin that it still needs to be on, and it's like high protection mode, go, the sun's still out, quick. It's like, so when does the skin get to rest?
Well, because
poor skin.
It's not just our eyes, right? It's our skin that has the light receptors as well, which we're growing to understand a whole lot more. So the artificial light at night is about getting your sun in the day and doing it mindfully, and there's a specific way that we can explore with that to do it safely. But then it's avoiding artificial light at night, because that's probably where more of the research is coming out at the minute around disease states. It's because it's more about control. You can control that environment a whole lot more by switching off your overhead lights, in particular overhead, or, you know, keeping light at a minimum, so you can give those signals to your circadian system so that it can align with its normal 24-hour or its entrained 24-hour cycle properly. Like, actually lock into it. And even the times that, like, we don't have any overhead lights now in the clinic. We only have the amber lights, and we can change them, the globes throughout the day, which was great. But since then, like, because we had them at the start. And then, but since then, now we've changed them. I feel like my energy levels have sustained longer in the days at work. It not only feels nicer to the eyes, but I feel that really high intensity light, globes, whatever they are as well, it does drain more of your energy reserves. And it's interesting because with that light, you're getting a peak. You're not getting a nice even spectrum of light. You're getting that peak in it, which again is causing a stressor to the body. And there's flickering that happens as well with the LEDs. Even incandescents have a flicker aspect, but you know, again, it's giving your body some foreign signals where we typically would be outside. Like, you know, if you go camping, it's essentially a circadian reset. So it's the best. Like, you go take give yourself 12 days off grid.
Yeah.
I don't know why I say 12, but it seems like a nice 2-week break off grid, and you feel like a different person, and you sleep better.
Oh, you're actually tired.
Your appetite shifts as
Increases,
well. Yep. I find it goes.
Mine increases because mine's normally down.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so my appetite's normally low in my stress levels.
Yeah.
And then it increases, and I feel better, and I lose weight.
Yeah, right. How interesting. So I get the opposite. My appetite decreases.
Yeah.
And I feel much more energized.
Yeah.
Because I think my experience has been from hiking. So I'll be hiking 8 hours a day.
Yes.
I know I'm burning a lot of calories, but I don't need a lot of food because I'm getting different energy. Because I think the sun, getting a little bit into the nitty-gritties, the sun slows down your mitochondria. And so that ATP at the end starts slowing down, sort of racing. I can't speak directly to the intricacies of that, but I think that's got to do like stabilizing your metabolic rate, perhaps. Yeah. No, it's really fascinating. I think that's the mTOR pathway or something.
Yeah, exactly. Because it comes down to that, what we talk about, the CDR, the cell danger response, and the summer winter.
Yeah.
So your body is now aligning with those cycles, whether they're daily cycles or even actual summer winter cycles, or just the body's rest and build. Recovery and build cycles.
So we can talk to those signals as daily signals, right? Light and dark. But there's seasonal signals, which are as the sun moves through the sky through our seasons, they're also giving us some integrate some signs to let our body know where we are and how much melanin it might need to be, and then 1,000,001 other biological signals going on behind that as well. That
huge.
Huge again, the complexity.
It is, I know, and it's hard to talk about here because again, we don't want to get too lost in the detail that we could dive into it in another podcast. We almost wanted to today. Well, I will. So let's go into the light prescription.
Yeah.
And I love this term, and you introduced this to me, and I do really love that we all have and we all need to have within our protocol or scope of what we give clients a light prescription. So what does that look like?
Well, definitely for all my patients, they will walk out with a light prescription, and they're actionable items that you can put into practice that moment. And I think that's the curious thing with this is it's absolutely free. All it requires is you to commit to it and action this. And again, it's a lifestyle medicine. There can be, I think you'll get the neurotransmitters building and you want to do it more, but maybe there's a lag for your body to adapt to it. So a light prescription, if we start from the morning, it's probably a nice way to walk through it. So depending where you are in the world where you're located, typically before 8 a.m. I'm going to say for us now in Perth, coming solid spring, there's really low levels of UVB. And UVB is the one associated with skin burning and things like that. So we have a bit of UVA, UVC, it's always very minimal. These are these different spectrums of light. So that's like, these are the ones that we can't see. And then it gets up to the color spectrum and goes back to ones that we can't see. And so in the morning, those signals before 8 o'clock are so critical to let our body know where we are in time and space. And so that's that physics aspect. It's actually giving our body some location and letting our clocks know what time it is, from the SCN all the way to our peripheral clocks, all coming into line. And it can be like, I would advocate 10 minutes, but I think some people talk between 3 to 5 minutes. Take no sunglasses, as much skin as possible. Sit in the sun, have your cup of tea or whatever, your green tea, whatever it is in the morning. Take your pet out, play in the garden. I know you've had people who water the garden naked. Whatever.
Sorry to my neighbours because I'm out there with my shirt off.
Perfect. I mean, and this is like, it's so simple, right? And it feels good, and you've got a routine in place. And it's not just for the feel good aspect at that point in time. Those different light frequencies are also setting up melatonin, which is 12 to 16 hours later, which is kind of like a retrospective signaling of that system. So it's giving the body that signal to go, okay, in 12 to 16 hours, we're going to bring up melatonin, cap off cortisol, get you to sleep, or at least bring you to a resting state. As long as you haven't got Allen, artificial light at night, flooding through, then those signals should stay strong, right? It's also critical if we look at vitamin D. Once again, it's a proxy for sun exposure. If from that early morning exposure, before 8 o'clock, then if you were to go out again between 10 to 1 o'clock when UVB is up high, and this is like a D-Minder app is going to give you that information, that early morning exposure has told your body that in 2 to 4 hours that you're going to be out, you're going to need a bit of protection. So it's your own sunscreen. It brings up melanin.
Easy.
Yeah, it's so easy. The body knows, right? We have taken the body out of the knowing and stopped those signals and blunted them. So you can step back into that. And so it's, it's creating that sulfation pathways, bringing the cholesterol up, creating vitamin D as proxy, but that's the melanin, which gives the color in your skin, which, when you're tanned, then you can stay out in that sun a little bit more because it's supporting the oxidative stress coming through from the UVB.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we know that melanin's in other areas of the body.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's so exciting, that stuff. But we'll talk about that as well for the time being. But yeah, I think that's something, like I see it a lot where in supervising in student clinics, for example, like, get out into the sun between 10 and 3 o'clock. And I'm like, well, actually, yes, it will do a bit, but why would you not be optimal and get them in the sun in the morning for 5-10 minutes and then go out in the sun again for another 10 minutes? And it's about building the solar callus, as you told. The solar callus is the melanin coming up in the skin. So it knows, and it's like, okay, I know about this time that the UVB is going to be high and I need to protect my skin, as well as all the biological signals that tell our body all the other information coming through that.
Just no wonder we are lost. Like, as you're saying this, it makes obviously so much sense, and I do this as well, and I see you don't always notice the benefits until you go, oh wow, this is what I was like before I was getting my morning sun. But no wonder we are all feeling so lost, depressed, sad, unsure, not where we are. No one's actually getting the rhythm or the lock-in. We're not actually locked into where we should be in this world. So everyone's like, I don't know what I'm doing. But it's so simple.
And I think that also, like, that's a part that I've noted in my experience. Sometimes there's if that's simple, it surely doesn't work. Like there's a connector there.
Very true.
But it really is that easy to do, getting that 5 minutes in the morning, going back out again when the UVB is up, and then you can go from 10 minutes, then 2-3 weeks time you might be at 15-20 minutes, and then you might be able to go for half an hour, 40 minutes, and all of these I would advocate for no sunscreen, not needed at this point in time. But then that's just being safe and mindful about it. If you're going to go for longer, then maybe it is that you want to find a way to protect yourself from that exposure, particularly if you haven't built your solar callus up.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. I totally agree.
And then from that, we're talking more of that broad spectrum sunlight. Sunrise, sunset is also something. Sunrise and sunset is very Jack Kruse, isn't it?
Yeah. Old times.
If it's going to be one thing you do for the rest of your life, is see the sunrise, see the sunset. Or the information and those cues, those sight guiders that are called, and when we're looking at circadian.
Gosh, love that word.
I know. Light is one, food is one, temperature, whatnot. But I think it's light and temperature stronger than food in terms of sight guiders for circadian entrainment. So it's really, it's in the top 3. Again, showing you how important it is. And if we can have a regulated, optimized circadian system, this is controlling a metabolic function. And we know a lot of disease sits in that metabolic dysfunction space. So here's something you can do today. Implement. Get your 10 minutes in the morning. Get another 10 minutes. See the sunset, or the red light in particular coming through there. It's telling your body, it's time to slow down. Maybe it's also coming back to melatonin and being like, hey, we're going to jump up in the next 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours. And so then it is then when you are going inside, it's darker, making sure like turn off your lights, your overhead lights.
Yep.
There's no need for them. Have lamps. If you can, get some red or yellow lamps.
Yep.
And bring down that spectrum of light to a bit more gentle light, something more like a sunset, something more like candle, something more like fire.
Yeah.
That's a bit more attuned, and our body can recognize that as not being, it's the middle of the day. I'm at
PM.
Like 7 to 8,000 lux, which is the brightness of the
brightest.
Yeah. And if you're giving your body that signal at 7:30 at night, it's going to be confused. But look, the thing is, the body is adaptable. It will make a way around it, but that adaptation is going to come at a cost. And that's when we're looking to optimize. Why would we not look at that foundational aspect and then not have to have an affordance for that cost or that dysregulation, that adaptation? You can come back right to the source of what's happening.
And that cost can be something like DNA damage. It can be something like cell dysregulation, reformation, poor cellular recovery, degeneration, angiogenesis.
Deficit.
Yeah, exactly. So many different cellular components that are decreased because it's then having to turn off systems of mechanism, regulation to then go, I'm now still in protect mode.
I think that's sometimes it can be a good way to kind of go, okay, well, it is adapting. Like, I know my body is highly adaptable, but do I need to put that stress on it?
Yes.
I probably don't. And there's ways around that with my light environment, or I'm covering my skin, or I've got some blue light blockers, or if I'm having to be on the laptop, then I've got like Iris or f.lux. So it's brought down the lumens coming at you, and things like that. So there's so many ways to adapt to this, to start optimizing. And I think for me, it feels like that's the ground. Get your light environment right. For me, as a practitioner, there's of course supplementations, because our body is in constant stress, and there's foundational aspects where you want to come in and help replete any deficiencies, but why not do these really simple steps? And I say simple, but there is, it is different if you've had overhead lights in your bedroom or in the kitchen, right? The kitchen I find really hard.
It is hard.
Sometimes, like, without having a bunch of lamps around, you'll still have it on, but maybe you've got some yellow light blockers.
Matt bought a LED light, like stick on. Put it under our benches, and it's an amber.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And we turn that on at night time. So then we turn the overhead lights off, and we can still see all on the benches. And it was the cheapest thing ever. I think it was like, I don't know, Temu or something like that. Even Kmart has them, which we've got here, the red ones. So you just stick them to your underneath.
Great idea.
So you can find ways to do things like this. It's just attaching and putting in strategies to actually do that. So I guess I wanted to ask you, like, how can clients, or how can patients help support themselves in building these new habits, and also anything else that we want to add to that. But then also around, say, exercising light. I wanted to make sure we don't forget to talk about this, because that's really something that so I want your comments on that.
There's I'm going to forget the person at the minute. Another podcaster, and she's got brilliant. Kayla, no, not Kayla. She's a PhD and like a brilliant mind. But her stories are quite entertaining. Anyway, she goes to the gym in like full tracksuit. She wears a head all wrapped up, like. I was going to wear my hat because we're sitting inside, just to embody a bit of that. But because particularly like in gyms are typically these bright LED lights overhead, and it's warm, right? And you're sweating. You don't want a lot of clothing on. I mean, the body's adaptable, but know that adaptation is going to have a flow-on effect, and the body has to adapt, and it might be drawing from something that you don't want it to. Is that your sleep? Is it that metabolic rate? Is it your guts? Something will be paying a price to adapt, right? And it might not be today, but it could be 10 years down the line. It could be 2 years. It could be 2 months. Who knows?
Yeah.
Everyone's different. But
Absolutely.
I think, you know, with exercise, particular gyms are the ones that stand out. But even like in any indoor sports, basketball, volleyball, any of those places where you're lit up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I played a game of soccer on Tuesday night, and it's under lights.
Yeah, outside but under lights.
Outside but under lights at night. It was 8:30. It was horrendous. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, my body is not going to handle this.
When you know this information is worse, and you're like looking at the lights going,
totally. And I don't think I fell asleep till way past midnight. I was hyped up, and sure, it's perhaps because for me that's a very foreign environment. Yeah, I'm not adapted to it, because I will try to optimize my space. But yeah, I think it's something to be mindful of. What do you explore with patients who are?
Well, and I myself also know how it feels to work out inside versus outside.
Yeah.
And so I normally, if I'm doing like my home workouts, and even with my personal trainer as well now, like Dan Veria.
Oh yeah.
So he like advocates barefoot training and outside training. So we'll normally be training in a park or at the gym, but the gym's all natural lighting and windows.
Love that.
Yeah, and in bare feet. You know, watch heavy weights with bare feet, but you know, each to their own.
Yeah.
I do it. I just take the risk. But yeah, so noticing the difference of myself, but also other clients who've gone through periods of time of like outside exercise routines and then inside exercise routines, and you get better muscle gain, better benefit, better recovery, better energy, and your skin and your body's lymphatic clearance feels like it clears much easier. So it's just like, it's a no-brainer.
That's what I would say. So from just coming out of a soccer season, which was playing in the middle of the day for the most part, in sun, like I felt so good to be outside and sweating and running around.
Makes you happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I like absolutely injured and like exhausted, but with a smile on my face. Yeah,
absolutely. It's very different for an internal environment, and I feel like that just feeds this an attachment to our natural environment.
Yeah,
and you see everyone like, I'll drive past the gym at nighttime, like Revo, and there is like fluorescent lights on, and you're like
driving past
10 p.m. at night, and people are like running on the treadmill. I'm like, go to bed.
I know. Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. I know we all have different timelines, but we need to get with the program here.
The different chronotypes for sure, but at the same time, like
still wrap it up.
Maybe you're in a latitude where, like, way up north, where it's light for 8 months or dark, and then light for 3 months.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if that's your DNA,
Antarctic,
go for it.
6 months of the year, they're only exercising.
But then, like, the foods are going to help you there. What your high fat diet, I mean, you adapt to the environment.
Extra protection.
Which, that's what we're advocating here, is adapting to your environment and using what's there. I feel like I keep saying the word using. It's immersing. It's
immersing,
just,
like
allowing it disconnect, reconnect with the environment, and allow it to have those signals that can regulate your body in a more optimal formats.
And I feel that this is until we actually feel what these benefits are, it's really hard to hear words and put them into practice. And it's same with me, but I've noticed it so much with clients, because what we work with is trying to change habits, right? But for the most part, that's our job, and trying to help and heal and give support. And it's not until someone really immerses and feels that, then they go, ding. Right, that's the light bulb, or the non-light bulb moment. So they
figurative light bulb.
They then, like, you actually feel what that is like, that piece of information. So here, like, I feel like it is hard to understand what we are trying to say, but it's just these small steps to start with. Like, so what I would do normally is I make sure, and for my kids too, like every morning I'm like, get your glass of water, go outside. Get your glass of water, go outside. So we're all like outside in the morning, drinking our glass of coffee or whatever it is, and sitting on the grass and getting our shirts off.
Great.
So, and that's in winter too. Whenever there's sun outside, whenever there is even a cloud cover.
So it's, like,
every day of the year.
You don't need to see the sun to have it. have these effects. The UV rays move through the infrared light, moves through the clouds. So just if it's not sunny, you still go outside and expose yourself to the light. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that is sort of like a good, like, attaching other things that you're doing already. You know, even dinner, like as soon as dinner's on, right, after dinner, turn lights down. So like that's absolutely. Like cues of the day really help us. And then like lunchtime break, go outside. You know, so then you've got your morning sun, you've got your lunchtime break, 10 minutes, like eat your food in the sun or outside or under a veranda if it's raining or windy.
And again, it's just putting your legs or putting your arms. You don't need a full body exposure, particularly when you're building up your solar callus. You can just have your feet up.
Exactly.
I mean, that's heliotherapy. If we go right back, that's how it was practiced.
Just for the feet.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then you move it up and you expose a bit more and you expose a little bit more about those signals. It's all connected.
It is.
You tell one part of your skin this, the rest of the skin goes, oh yeah, okay, cool. I've got the signal now.
Absolutely. And behind windows doesn't count.
No.
Okay.
It doesn't count because it blocks.
But a lot of clients are like, oh, I've got my sun this morning, I opened my blinds and I looked outside. No.
I mean, I think I've had patients who are driving to work and it's dark and driving home when it's dark, and so that's really difficult. Completely understand. But can you find? Do you go out and get a morning coffee?
Exactly.
Go walk in the sun, and can you do that at lunch and before coming home? Just step away from your desk or step if it's possible. It's about finding that priority, and if it is only 5 minutes. If you can find 15 minutes in your day to do this, it's going to get those cues to make you want to do it a little bit more. And then it becomes that regular practice. Because I know for me, if I miss a day, like I've woken up late and I've just got to pack up and go and get to where I'm going, I feel it. I feel it.
Me too. You definitely know the difference when it's there. And I think the thing to remember here is that, you know, we all know the feeling that when we're unwell, and we all know the feeling of like, I would do anything to feel well again. And we've just got to remember that each day, because this is the most freest, simplest thing you can ever do. And on that note, when you're sick, you know, go out in the sun. It actually is antibacterial, antiviral. It helps to support all of this. And my kids, because again, I'm like, have you been out? But they'll lay on the couch and just feel sorry for themselves all day. And I'm like, out, go down. And so there's all the intrusion outside of them taking their things off and they're sick. I'm like, lay on the deck and get in the sun.
Get some sun.
And they know now, they will just do it automatically.
I've had, it's interesting also just to add it onto that, like what might you note of these effects, particularly if you've not been in the sun for a while and you go, like, say you're at the beach and you're laying out after a dip and you start to feel tired. That's because the UV light is helping break down cortisol. Which is crashing and making you resting and tired. So if you experience that, you know you've got a high level of cortisol. And so it's another way, by exposing yourself to the sun, are you helping with that cortisol aspect? Because we know cortisol goes up in the day and it should come down. Melatonin, very simply, way too simple for what's happening, but anyway, we'll look at those.
Bills.
So by having that sun exposure, perhaps you're also moderating your cortisol levels in the day, which then allows melatonin to cap it and rest. Because I think that was probably the first place that I come in and experimented here was around sleep and helping patients sleep, by having them have, you know, I think my first focus was on sun, and then learning about Ellen. I was like, okay, both of these have to happen. You can have them essential. You can be outside and do have all the exposure, but if you're still under artificial light at night, you're just kind of blunting. You're giving some biological signals, but when it's coming to that melatonin aspect, it's again just confusing the system.
And it really does cut it down quite a lot when you have exposure. Like your body just goes, no, you're off. Switch off. Melatonin. So even when we're looking at, like, I really like from a mental health perspective, and I don't like to say that this is the only fix, but I do notice a huge difference in my clients who are really struggling with depression and anxiety, that their morning sunshine is their sunshine. It's their happy thing that makes their day so much easier. So from the serotonin build perspective, like it is essential that people are just putting that habit in place and doing that.
Yeah.
But it's weird the excuses that come up, right?
I know.
I live in an apartment. I can't get outside. Okay. I've
had patients move homes because they couldn't get the sun in the morning.
Yes. I totally get that.
Yeah.
I'm not moving my house because I love how it hits the front.
I know. If I was to move, I'll be like, all right, we can't move until we can see where the morning sun is.
You visit at all the times of the day so you know where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's so essential. But you can go down outside. You know, there is, busy apartments like New York is one and things like that, right?
Yeah.
But you can open a window, stick your head outside. Or go down and then go in the street. And yes, we have wintry places.
Yeah.
But it's about more the eyeballs, face eyeballs to make sure that the signals have clocked in.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Like check-in at work, when you clock your timesheet in, clocked in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's for each person, it's finding that story that helps you make those changes. If it is that clocking in aspect. And everyone's going to be a bit different where they're sitting as well, because I think in the space that I'm primarily working in around cancer care, I mean, there's lots of association with particularly artificial light at night and breast cancer. Those studies are there. Again, it takes that 10, 15 years for it to come into practice. But we've seen those studies for the last 5 years, if not a little bit more, with an association with artificial light at night and breast cancer incidence, particularly recurrence. So that's another, each person is going to have a different story to why this is important for them. And if it's optimization and mental well-being, then yes, find that have the sunshine be your sunshine in the morning. That's the story, that's the narrative. And so if you're finding it difficult to make these changes, find this narrative that helps you optimize, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it does, we probably will need like a different podcast on cancer and light, possibly, because I feel like there is a lot to dive into that, because it's a big part of your space. But the incidents, like when you look at the history of artificial light at night, like, when did Alan come in? And then, why is the incidence of cancer rates rising? Why is chronic disease rising? Oh, that's a bit interesting.
Diseases,
exactly. So I think it has to be talked about, because it does give context to like what we're dealing with and how we can correct it. That's the most important part. Is like, well, what did we do wrong? Now let's correct it. And then now we're back on the path to better health.
And it's not a story of guilt or like they did this wrong or I've done that, or it's going, okay, we got a bit more information. I'm going to give it a go. I get to experiment. Any equals one. See how you feel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right. Was there anything else you want to make sure that we cover on like prescription? So before we sort of wrap up.
No, I think it's like the short form of it. If I was to write this down as RX, it is see the morning sun, minimum 3 minutes, no glasses of little clothing as you feel comfortable in. See the midday sun, 10 minutes, build your exposure. Don't go out. For half an hour if you've not been out.
Naked if possible. Scare everyone.
And then and in the evening, lovely if you can have your eyes exposed to the sunset, just catch it for a couple of minutes. And then turn those lights, if anything, turn the lights off over the head, get some lamps. Salt lamps.
So pretty.
There's lots of different lamps, bulbs that you can get that will reduce the brightness of your house. You could have questionable people knocking at your door if your whole house is red. But it's an interesting story. And a moment to educate and let other people know why it is that perhaps your house is lit up red at night. But I mean that's the short form prescription. Morning, lunch, turn off your lights at night. And get off remove your tech. Try to keep off screens. If you are using screens, use something that brings down that exposure. Have your phone be red, whatever it is, and just see how your body responds. It's always going to be adapting. And then then we find another space and we can come in and support there.
So. Absolutely, that's the basics foundation. I love it. So simple, so easy. So thanks, Danielle.
No worry, that was fun.
We've been needing to do this for a while. And
it's nice to have it down.
It is, and I hope everyone enjoys listening to this and can go back to it for reference as well. which will be great.
Yeah.
And then we'll do many more of these, but we'll just pick good times and topics to actually explore a little bit deeper and have obviously some really practical information for people to take away from it as well, which is so important. But reach out, questions, etc., at the end of this, or to the clinic and to Danielle as well. So
yeah, for sure.
Danielle's available for appointments, more in oncology care, but it's something that, you know, for like prescription wise, we can always do acutes and things like that too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Amazing.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jenny.